Welcome to the balance code call. I think I have all my settings set so you can only see me. I think I have it recording. And I think I have everybody muted upon entering. So let's just see. Bear with me. I'm not a technological queen by any means, but I will try my best to learn just for you. And I made sure to take notes from all your questions so that I stay on track. I really want to try to respect your time. I'm hoping to have this all answered within like the 30-minute to an hour mark. So let's see how I do. If you have not got the form for the questions, you can either privately email me, message me, or check your email. It may also, it shouldn't be on anybody's spam. It looks like everybody's received the emails, but there is a form where you can ask questions. You don't have to leave your name. You can if you want. And the questions can be anything from relationship to physical health to financial health. I'm going to do my best to answer from not only an energetic perspective, but I want to give you some tips and tricks and tools, what you can use with it. So make sure you ask questions. A lot of the times you'll hear me say the exact same answer for a lot of the questions. So that's always fun, when it all comes down to everything. When we boil everything down, there's really only one thing happening here, and it all comes back to the same thing is what I'm trying to say. I always do like to say I'm not a doctor. I don't treat, diagnose, prescribe, or alter any medications in any way, shape, or form. And if you've ever read anything to do with Louise Hay, she might have been kind of the pioneer for this, but metaphysics. And the belief is that every single emotion or every physical ailment is the cause of some type of emotional blockage. Or I use the word blockage a lot, but if you work with me, if you're with my 30-day program, it's not necessarily a blockage, but that's just what I call it because I know that's kind of the word that everybody loves to use so much. So unintegration or not yet integrated is kind of the word I would prefer to use. If you hang out with me a little bit more, you'll get to know that. So number one question I really would love to address first is no answers from doctors. They test. Oh, no, that's my answer. No answers from doctors. Blood work is constantly coming back to normal. I hear this time and time again. People are exhausted. They're dizzy. They're nauseous. They're overwhelmed, anxious, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But blood work's fine. Doctor says you're fine. Keep moving. You're fine. Sometimes they might tell you to change your eating pattern or move your body or something like that, but not often. You just kind of get like a normal and then you're sent out the door. And one of the biggest issues that people may or may not know is doctors are testing for illness. They're not testing for wellness. So they're looking for levels of illness. So that they're looking for levels of illness, not wellness. So I'm not going to give any examples of levels actually, because that's more of a doctor thing. But sometimes you'll notice that you're getting these levels back and they're fine, but when in reality it should be a little bit higher, it should be a little bit lower. However, it's just not hitting that illness marker. So medical Western care is so necessary in this world, and I never want to deter people necessarily from using it. It's a wonderful tool. It's a great invention. What I want to encourage you to understand is that it's an illness-based system. We are responsible for our preventative health, for our wellness, and this is where this industry has been so magical to me because I've learned so much, and there's so many avenues, there's so many books, there's so many things that you can look up, and just see what resonates with you because it's not going to harm you to try, some different things. Most things are quite harmless, right? So, and of course, if you feel it might be a harm, a pharmacist is the best one to check with, especially if you're working with herbs or supplements or things like that. A pharmacist is going to be your number one. They know the ins and outs of all those ingredients, right? So they would be your best bet to ask. I really like asking pharmacists questions when it comes to specific ingredients. But when you feel when you feel like you're getting tired, when you feel like you're nauseous, when you feel these different symptoms, you're in the perfect stage to begin healing because the disease is not the blood work. gone wrong, right? The disease starts right now in the tiredness, in the, carrying some extra weight around the midsection. This is where the disease actually starts. Alzheimer's doesn't start when you're 50, 60, 70, 80 years old. Alzheimer's starts when you're 20, 30 years old, right? And you start declining in health by, we know our body changes as it ages, you guys. Like, I too am a victim of aging. And things just change. Things change all the time. And so we need to constantly be up leveling and changing because things change. Diets that work for me in my 20s don't work for me now. Eating habits I used to have in my 20s don't work for me now. Sleeping patterns change. Things are forever changing and forever evolving. So that's why we have to understand that it's not, just because I did a high protein diet this day and I did the carnivore diet this day and they did all work at one point. Now they're not working. It's because my body has been changing, right? So we need to find what works for us. So it doesn't mean that things don't work, period. It just means that's not what our body needs right now. You see some people that go from vegan to carnivore and they do wonderful. And it's not that vegan didn't work for them and it's not that carnivore didn't work for them. It's just their body has adapted and changed. Now, I'm not for any specific diet except for supporting your pH balance, which is a variety of different foods. So, if you do vegan or carnivore, that's great. Good for you. I'm not here to tell you one way is better than the other. Now weight, this person was specifically asking about weight, and a weight is emotional protection. So I'll tell you a little story. If you've known me for the last couple of years, my face has grown a little bit. You probably don't see my body very much, but you notice my face has probably changed a little bit. And a personal experience of grief had happened which led to an estate battle, a legal battle, and that was territory I've never embarked upon before. And to say it was stressful would be kind of an understatement. And it was scary. It was a new experience for me. It was my mentor who passed. So it was new territory without the support, the moral support that I was used to. And this person literally lived with me. So I mean, support in every direction of life. And even with the yoga, and even with the trainings, and even with the things, I still ended up gaining about 20 pounds over the last year. I mean, we're going back the other way now, but it took some time. And you know what? Maybe it will come back. I don't know. Fingers crossed. Um, but it's your system is just like overloaded with emotions and it has to protect you because this is your wisdom center. Your gut is your wisdom center, and that's why we all tend to gain weight in that area, is because it's our wisdom center. And so, although it feels unfortunate, we have to really get into our mind that we're not trying to lose weight, because when we lose weight, that means we're trying to find weight. So losing weight doesn't technically work if we're speaking from a metaphysical form. And using affirmations, we need to say that we're ready to release weight, and we need to do the things that are healthy and supporting to our body, not beating ourselves up because we didn't lose a pound this week. Also learned that from many experiences. And sometimes I tend to go back. There's no such thing as perfection, and we're learning a new language in this culture, right? So yeah, basically we are system overloaded, which end up leading to exhaustion. It's all the same thing, right? Weight gain, nausea, dizziness, exhaustion, brain fog. It's all in the same category as your wisdom center is overloaded. Remember, everything is energy. So what you focus on is what you're going to get. You focus on pain, pain's going to come. You lose weight, you find weight. Yeah, I said that one. And, it just literally insert blank. Look for, if you're focused on, oh my God, I'm anxious all the time, guess what? You're going to be anxious all the time. If you focus on being tired all the time, you're going to be tired all the time. If you focus on, constantly losing weight, you're not going to lose weight. You're going to continuously lose and find it. Lose, right? Because when you lose things, you find them. You don't want to find that. I don't want to find that. So, I should also just say I did, again, I'm keeping myself grounded with notes because I tend to get on a big tangent. Your questions are really important for me to answer, but I wanted to just express that everything is energy. We learned this in grade 7 science where I'm from. I don't know, maybe, something in my hair. Maybe it was a different grade for you, but everything is just energy, and it's like energy attracts like energy. I'm sure you've heard that time and time again. Everything is energy. And they've done in quantum physics, they've done research where they have this like vacuum where nothing can enter it. And they put a little photon in there. But then they put a little piece of DNA in with the photon. Well, the photon then morphed into the DNA. So a photon is like a teeny tiny, it's smaller than an atom, I think. Maybe I better go back to physics. Anyways, but either way, the photon formed into matching the DNA. And so that just proved everything with quantum physics. Like energy, when you're around a certain, like take an inventory of your surroundings. Is your house messy? Is your house chaotic? Are people or loved ones around you maybe not so kind to you? Are you constantly having road rage, people yell at you and honk at you? That's time for you to do a self inventory and see, like, what's going on in here that I'm attracting this? Because every experience you have, you're attracting one way or another. And I know that's sometimes not what we want to hear, because it's like, well, I didn't want this to happen to me. And I understand you didn't want the trauma or the abuse. And that's not what I'm saying. I don't want to be like, ha, you picked this. I told you so. It's not that kind of feeling. It's, you're something inside of you is attracting this for whatever reason. And it's fragmented energy. So I want you to think too, when your energy is fragmented, you might have pain on one side of your body, but like, so for me, for a long time, I would get kink on this side of the neck only. And so it's not this side of the neck that I needed to support and work on, because there's a lot of energy in here. There's a lot of blood. There's a lot of inflammation, a lot of circulation happening here. Is something we need to pull in over here because we're fragmented. And so I often look at when people come to me for the best treatment, I often watch them walk. And more often than not, you kind of see like a hip. One of the hips is lower than the other. And I can instantly tell that the energy is defragmented. And once we do a treatment, you'll notice that things often shift after just the one treatment, which is really cool. Everything and anything is just a matter of building the neurocircuitry. So with the energy medicine specifically, when we build neurocircuitry, we're basically turning on light switches in our body. And with the energy treatments, the techniques, I guess, I feel like I said that like 3 times in a row, is we're flicking on light switches and we're working with the electromagnetic energy. So just very similar to how Reiki does. If you've had experience with Reiki, we're just turning on energy and connecting it with our nervous system. That's it. That's all we're doing. And that's all we ever want to do. That's all we're ever trying to do. And that's how we align energy. Um, Okay, I'm gonna go off that for a second because I really want to get to the questions. There was another question about anxiety. Anxiety. I actually had a few questions about anxiety, so this is gonna be like a broad answer. There's so many different reasons we would experience anxiety, but I really want people to understand that anxiety is not a bad emotion. Society has taught us that anxiety is a really bad emotion, but it's very important that we experience anxiety from time to time because it keeps us safe in certain areas. So maybe you've had an experience where, someone, I don't know, just to be like really bold, like dramatic experience, like, maybe someone was trying to harm you and you felt like this anxious feeling, right? That's just your protective personality giving you that anxiety to like give you a warning of like, hey, this is gonna happen. Or it's just like, hi, wake up, we need to do something, we need to do something. And we also get anxiety confused with excitement. So there's a few scenarios where I've had to be like, is this anxiety or excitement? And a lot of it is around social aspect, the social life. um so also ask yourself, that is this anxiety or is this excitement? Because I think a lot of us might not know how to deter it. And I don't mean this to be insensitive about anybody who has experienced, because anxiety is real. 110% anxiety is real. And people have anxiety disorders that are very real, and they create very real scenarios in the body. They create very real symptoms. And I agree wholeheartedly. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that it's also an emotion. And I really want to bring that home to you, because there are reasons that your body is trying to protect you with that emotion of anxiety. Okay. So the biggest thing is pulling the mind off your face. So our mind is not meant to be leading the show. And I often ask people who have toddlers or young children, would you give your toddler your checkbook and your bills and your income and tell them to take care of the home? And I mean, like, that's the stupidest example ever because I don't think anybody would do that. Um, but that's what we're doing when we use our mind to rule our lives. This is like our mind is not supposed to be here. The mind, the voice inside your head is not running the show. And this is where almost everybody I talk to gets caught up. Like, this is the mind. This is when I lead with the mind. This is essentially what it's doing. And it will create your mind operates in duality like a toddler does. And so no matter what scenario you give it, like, please take this for homework tonight and do it and just sit and think of something that maybe you're feeling challenged with going through and just let your mind go. Listen to it. Like, hear what it has to say, and you will probably start to laugh because that dualistic thing that the mind does, which again is good because it keeps you safe, right? Should I walk in a dark alley at night by myself? Should I not? Like, that's what it's meant for, right? Should I call this person? Should I do this? Should I do that? Um, but if you sit and listen to it. So for example, I was, going through that estate battle I told you about, and there was a really major decision I had to make. And I sat and listened to my mind about it. It's like, well, if you do that, this scenario can happen and then this can happen. But what if this doesn't happen? And then what if this happens? But what if they do that because you did this? And then what? You have to stop that. Like, you have to shut it down. Now you can sit and listen to it. You can if you choose. Like, I do want you to hear it and understand what it's doing, but the mind is also a magnifier too, right? So if we're constantly thinking about the problems and the what ifs, that's going to keep happening and keep happening and keep happening. And really, ultimately, it's not going to stop until you can take this mind like off your face and just love it and be grateful it's doing its job, but don't let it magnetize the things. Like, let it be. It's like the devil and the angel on the shoulder. You don't have to listen to the devil. You don't have to listen to the angel, on the shows. You don't have to listen to either of them, but you can if you want. Ultimately, you need to make that decision with your gut. And if you don't know how to do that yet, I have a super simple muscle testing course that's going to help you build your intuition. We're having a workshop on February 15th, I believe, in person, but you can buy it online at any time you want. It's already pre-recorded, and so you could do that. I would love if you came in person if that's an option for you. So let me check the time here. We're doing great for time. But there are triggers. So also, if you're experiencing a lot of anxious feelings, start journaling and find your triggers. I didn't bring any water with me and I had a tickle in my throat. Oh, sorry. I drink a lot of water, so I drank it all today. All right, we'll have to get some here in a minute. But when we have things that trigger the anxious feelings, it puts our body into a state of emergency. So gluten and dairy are very common for people. And again, this is where the muscle testing course could help you because you would be able to decipher what things are triggers without having to go through like a week or two of journaling and comparing. You could just test it and see. And I can also support you with that in a best treatment if you don't want to do that. Um, but it creates a state of panic and emergency. And I'll tell you, last year before the estate and all that stuff, I was in a really good space in regards to my eating habits, in regards to my exercising. And so I was pretty restrictive with my foods, eating mostly fruits, vegetables, and a little bit of meat here and there. And what had happened was I ate a sausage that my husband had made, and I was getting him to make mine with Himalayan salts rather than the curing salt because I didn't want the nitrates. And by accident, I grabbed the one with the nitrates, and I'm telling you, within about 2 minutes of ingesting that, it wasn't like a reaction. It wasn't an allergic reaction or anything like that, but my stomach bloated because I hadn't been bloated, and my mind became very irritable. I actually snapped at the kids, which is something that I do not normally do. I snapped at them. I was very irritable. My stomach was like hard, and I was just like, wow. But I had been eating the sausages with the nitrates for years prior to this. We've always made them. It's just like a fun thing we do. And so how long was I feeling that and didn't realize it was the salts causing that type of reaction in my body because I was always like that. And so that's where the journaling or the muscle testing can really come in handy for you. There are likely a lot of triggers that you continue to put into your body, but you don't notice because it's happening so often, right? If you have something every single day, it's really hard to determine what is what because you don't know what it's like to not have that. And that was my experience. There's also basically what happens when anxiety from an energetics perspective is your energy is just scattered everywhere. So our energy is supposed to flow from above and it comes through our body straight down into the ground 2 feet below, and then it recycles through our body into this toric field. When we're experiencing anxiety, like, we're not doing that essentially. Like, it is just kind of everywhere. It's above us, and it's kind of just like splaying everywhere because it doesn't know where to go. It doesn't know what to do. You can even tell when I talk about anxiety, like my voice changes and like my mannerisms change and everything because it's like something you're harnessing and harboring, right? So we basically need to bring the energy back home and breathe. Now that's easier said than done, but there is a practice that I love to teach in the 30-day coaching program called subject, object, subject. And I know a lot of you can speak to that who are here now, can speak to how calming that is once we get through that practice and practice it a lot. Um, it's literally bringing your energy home to you in a matter of minutes. The practice itself is it could take you about a half hour to learn. And then as you practice it, you get better and better to the point where you don't technically need to even do it anymore unless something really throws you off. Another little quick tip that I can give you right now for anxious feelings is, first of all, don't say I have anxiety. Start saying I'm having anxious feelings or I'm experiencing anxious feelings, right? Back to that metaphysical perspective, when we say I'm having anxiety or I have anxiety, is like we're owning it. We create this like ownership over it, like it's ours, and we're not going to get rid of it because it's ours. And again, I'm not judging you for saying that. I'm giving you the knowledge that I've gained over the years and how we should speak because our language is so important when we talk about these things. But another thing you can do is, am I okay right now? Am I okay right now? Am I okay right now? Because there's been times where I sit on my couch too. One of you who wrote in were saying, you're sitting on the couch and you're doing nothing, and all of a sudden your heart races. That's real. That happens. That happens, and that used to happen to me. And I would have to sit there and be like, "Am I okay right now? Yes. Am I okay right now?" I mean, if you can say, "Am I okay?" You're okay, right? And I even think of, a lot of stressors I've experienced previously were financial. And I'm like, and that is a weight that is really hard to get off your chest. And I would sit there and say, am I okay right now? Yes. Am I okay right now? Yeah. Am I okay right now? Like, are the bill collectors kicking my door in, telling me I need to pay bills? Like, no. So I'm okay right now. Am I okay? And I tell you, there's been times where I've had to say it 10, 20, 30, 40 times in a row. Am I okay right now? Yes. Am I okay right now? Yes. Am I okay right now? Yes. I promise you, it will, in the very least, distract your brain, okay? But it will trick you into understanding you are okay. Now, I got a lot of psoriasis, arthritis, autoimmune questions. Really, they're technically one and the same for the most part, metaphysically wise. It's a lot to do with self-rejection, refusing to change, like a fear of changing and not wanting things to change because it's really uncomfortable. Totally been there before. Holding on to pain, my way or the highway. Feeling victimized and like a self-punishment. And I will say for a lot of times what can happen is when we have different types of role models in our younger years, more often than not, a father figure, and we become in the state where we're looking for that love or looking for that attention. And again, it's not wrong, it's what we're supposed to do, but we need to be harnessing it from ourselves, not from a parent. And I understand that's really difficult. It's very easy for me to sit here and say that. um but there is this big thing with rejection and parents that lead to autoimmune psoriasis and arthritis. They kind of end up being one and the same thing. And truly, the only solution is to find like a deep love for yourself. And I don't mean Hallmark love. I'm talking grandparent, like grandmother love. And I'm not saying your grandmother. I'm saying like a deep love, an unconditional love, that has to be created within you for yourself before you can experience it. Likely, so in my coursework, I would get you to think of it typically is a child or a pet that we think of because those are the only people we may have experienced unconditional love with. And thinking about a specific time where you really felt just so much love. Like, I think about a times where this is kind of crazy. I think about times when I have my kids when they're babies and I want to bite them because they're so cute. And I know that sounds weird and I don't actually bite them, I promise. But it's just like it's so overwhelming. I just want to like bite them because they're so precious. And maybe I shouldn't admit that to people, but it's true. And those are the moments I think of because it's like it's so I'm just so overjoyed. I just want to like just want to grit my teeth and like tense up. So that's the kind of love that we need to be feeling for ourselves. And it's likely that a lot of people haven't got to that point, unfortunately. And I would love to help you get there because it is the only thing that will free you. Like the emotion, the vibration, the frequency of love, like scientifically, like this is proved with science, is quantum physics. Like that emotion, that bliss, that love, that authenticity, that deep, 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 deep love can burn up any trauma that you have, any emotional trauma, right? So we just haven't learned that yet. So I'm grateful you're here, and it's a deep honor of mine to even be able to share this with you. So I would love to share that further because if we could all create this feeling of inner peace and harmony and love with ourselves, like the world would be a much different place. I'll leave it at that. If you don't have my daily essentials, this is something that could help you too. I have like a free ebook with the 7 daily essentials. Um, it's kind of just like a brief lowdown of the 30 days of coaching and what you could do on your own to support you. It is a free ebook, so just email me and I can send it over your way. Um, but we talk a lot about love. Like love is one of the daily practices a day and it's so simple. So simple. So many simple things that you could be doing. That's my whole motive here is something super simple that anybody can accomplish. Even my children can do it. So I promise you these practices are not difficult at all. Um, I say that they're not difficult. It's like learning a second language. It's easy to learn the words. It's easy. It's difficult to like remember to put them in practice sometimes, right? Some supplements if you're experiencing, immune arthritis, psoriasis, autoimmune, I should say. Milk thistle and supporting the liver. I have a pH protocol that you can work with me that would be super beneficial. I would avoid citrus foods, apples, oranges, grapefruit. I would avoid those for at least a week or two, unless you're not eating them anyway. That's totally fine. You want to avoid processed sugars, or processed foods, and you want to avoid sugars, alcohol. Ideally, your diet will be about 50% vegetable and fruits, like specifically raw, if possible. You minerals like selenium, zinc, copper, and then B vitamins, like B complex vitamin would be ideal. If you have to get like the B12 and then the other ones separately, that's not the end of the world. But ideally a B complex, a vitamin, and then a D vitamin. Those are all going to be like your most beneficial when you're talking about this. Again, I'm not a doctor, I don't treat, diagnose, prescribe, or alter any medications, but that would be my suggestion. Gut protocol is I have a reset and repair protocol that could be really beneficial for you. So I think I've got what do I got? One or two more questions, and they're fairly short. So we'll run through them. Still doing great for time. We're at the 30-minute mark now. So sore hips, knees, ankles, joints all together. Those are the most common things. And this is where we really need to do circuit building in regards to energy healing. We actually don't have like bone on bone. It's not cartilage on cartilage. There's actually a pad of light in between everything. And we've proved this. Oh, I should have brought my pictures. It's like a crystallography I don't know what the word actually is, but they've taken pictures of leaves. They've taken pictures of arms before and after they were amputated. And even after they, like, let's say they cut the hand off, you can literally see the outline of the hand. So that's phantom pain, right? And so even with leaves, they've taken a picture of a leaf and you can see all around it is an outline of light with this light specific camera. I feel like it's called crylography. I'll have to double check for you. But then they ripped the tip off the leaf and you can still see the outline. Like, how impressive is that? So that's what's happening inside your body in between everything. Like, you're not touching finger on finger. It's not skin on skin. There's a pad of energy in between it. There's a pad of light in between it. And so what happens when we get achy, sore knees and joints is just we really haven't been coming home. We don't have the circuitry built, the neurocircuitry that works with our electromagnetic energy to connect our nervous system. There is some energy like missing from that area. So this is why bioenergetic synchronization technique, the best practice I do, is so supportive because we're bringing energy and building the neurocircuits into those spaces. So sometimes, depending on, maybe the damage or the potential that's done, a lot of times, like I've had a sore elbow. I'm gonna be completely honest, it was from sitting on my couch too much over Christmas break. And my elbow got really sore from leaning. And I'm talking like sore, sore. I'm not talking like, oh, ow, it hurts a little bit. I'm talking like I had a hard time bending it. Just sad. Anyway, so I did one best treatment, and the damage was minimal, right? It was like a month of sitting and being a lazy butt. So one best treatment did support me in that. Now I've had, after my pregnancy, my last pregnancy, a 10-pound whopper, my knees were very sore from carrying the extra weight. And so I've done multiple best treatments since then, and I no longer have sore knees. Although I will say my hips are still a little bit tender. There's still lots of work that likely needs to be done in there, but my knees are no longer sore. And it's because we've built the neurocircuits in my knees. And grateful for that because I'm so sorry that you have knee pain because it's really uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable. So inflammation is just simply a way of light being like, hey, I'm in here. You forgot about this body part. Like, let's get to work. Let's build some neurocircuitry and let's turn this on. And so now I kind of got to a point, not that I welcome inflammation in my body, but I'm like, it's your body's way of being like, hello, like we need to get in this area. So this will lead me to IBS. Oh, okay. Well, wait, I want to finish this first. Um, for inflammation, there's a really good supplement. It's turmeric and boswellia in it. So I think there's also black pepper in it. So if you need that, reach out to me and I'll send you a link for it. But that one is really beneficial for while we're like energetically healing these things. But what you can also do, takes practice, but you will get it, is when you have a sore achy joint. So my hips, like I kind of squeeze my hips together really tight. Of course, I take minerals too, by the way. Um, Squeeze my hips. Like when you squeeze it and then take a breath through the central channel. I will go over that with you guys at some point. It is in my coursework, but I really want to share with you the power of the breath healing. I teach it to every client or every coursework. Like we're always learning that breath. It's really important. When we squeeze and breathe up and down through the channel, we can actually bring light into that area and build our own neurocircuitry without the treatment. So very cool. Which leads me to IBS, and then we'll wrap it up and I'll say goodbye. IBS is basically fast evacuation. A lot of times your bowels or your digestive tract is so inflamed or full of mucus or, maybe parasites, what have you, whatever's in there, and your body cannot absorb the nutrients or the minerals or the vitamins. So it's just like, we don't need that. We're spitting a refill. You get easily irritated, and you have difficulty trusting also metaphysically. So from a metaphysical standpoint, you have difficulty trusting people and you get easily irritated. So might want to check into that. This could also dizzy, weakness, nausea, because your bowels, your digestive tract is responsible for your serotonin. It is supportive in cortisol levels, your immune system, and so much more. It also is direct access to your vagus nerve, which goes to your brain, which would likely cause some brain fog, mental in unclarity, not clarity, non-clarity. Um, so IBS is basically just quick evacuation of like, we can't do anything with this food. So we're spitting it out quickly and fast because there's nothing we can do with it. It just can't sit in the bowels, right? It can't just sit there and rot. You have to get rid of it. That's also why like gluten and dairy are typically um, why they get spit out quicker because it's an irritant, right? Now when this happens, often you'll get a little dizzy. And metaphysically, that's like you're going round and round. You don't know where to go. You don't know what to do, which leads to weakness because you're exhausted from going round and round, not knowing where to go, which leads to nausea. It's just basically trauma you can't watch and you can't handle it. So you're just left to ignore it. And then when you vomit with the nausea, that's like rejection of the information or rejection of the trauma. So what you need to do with IBS specifically is the gut repair protocol, and that's going to help you support nutrient and vitamin mineral absorption, I guess. And it's also going to help with like cravings you're probably experiencing too. If you have IBS, you're likely craving sugars or salts more often than not, and that's really a mineral deficiency. Ultimately, you need about 75% intake of fruit and vegetables a day. And that sounds overwhelming if you're not doing that. Sorry, I'm just gonna start my vehicle because I'm like cold. Um, that sounds overwhelming. Start with 20%, start with 25%, start with 50%. I don't care. Start with something because starting is better than nothing. Even if you start with 10%, it's still better, right? And I would really love this goes back to my 7 daily practices, the ebook. If you want that, I really encourage you to read that. Moving your body 3 times a week for a minimum of 20 minutes. That's going to help you. And as long as it's okay with your doctor or whatever, if you have a heart condition, maybe check in with them. But I'd love to see people who are able to raise their heart rate to about 120 beats per minute. And so what that might look like if you don't have a watch is you can still hold a conversation. Like walking to the point where you could have a conversation with me. You're not out of breath necessarily, but things are moving. You're getting sweaty, right? And so sweating is a very important part of healing. It's detoxing. Okay. Um, I could go on forever. I think we have just a lot of things that I'd love to answer. So I did miss a few questions that came in a little late once I already had my notes done, and I assumed we would be at the time limit. So I will get to those next week, I promise. But if you have more questions, send them in. I would love to answer them for you. I think this is probably the funnest part of my job. I love connecting with you. I love serving my community. I love paying it forward and just giving you the information that you need and deserve. We're not getting it in our healthcare, you know, so it's not really healthcare. Our doctors are doing a wonderful job at keeping us alive, and that is their job. Their job is not wellness. That's not their job. That's our job. And I don't take that offensively. I used to take that offensively, but now I feel empowered by it. So I hope that you also feel empowered by that. And it is my greatest joy to be sitting here with you and sharing this with you. Also working at Shifting Light Studios as well as working with you guys online. It's something I've always wanted to do ever since I first learned about Reiki and essential oils 10 years ago. I can't believe it's been 10 years. So, what a beautiful space to share with you. And I hope to see you back in not next Wednesday. So, Wednesday, I don't know, the third Wednesday of February. I should have checked the date, but it'd be 1 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time. And I know this time doesn't really work for everybody. So, I'll get the replay up within 24 hours and make sure that gets sent out by email. But many, many blessings to you all and happy healing, aligning, and, thriving. Let's get to a point where we're thriving all the time.